a new module, module 4, 3 topics, XML, JSON, and Bootstrap. Part A, getting started with XML. A.1 Introduction to XML. I mentioned XML several times before. In this part, we will learn the basics of XML. First, what is the XML? First, from its name, we can see, the main goal of this technology. So it is called Extensible Markup Language. Extensible markup. So we know markup language, right? HTML, right? Hypertext markup language. So the second part, the same as this place, markup language. The first part different, extensible. Okay. So here you can see this technology emphasizes extensibility. Later I will spend some time to explain this point. Okay. First, the first version, XML 1.0, approximately the time it was created, 1998, by W3C, some web technology organization, some international community, technology, making standards for many web technologies. All right. XML was designed to store and transport data. This is the main goal. Why we use this technology? Store. Yeah. So two main purposes. The first one, store. Yeah. If you have some data you want to store somewhere, so you store in this file. Okay. But to store data, if you have C++ or Java experience, so you can output, you can write your data out to a file, right? You just store in two formats, text format, binary formats, right? So why here you need a new technology, XML, as the data storage format? So here, first, XML technology, because markup language, so it is a text format. XML files are text files, right? So viewable, you can use text editor, so open the file, and you can see the content, and you can do the editing. First, but that's not very special. The special thing is when you store the data, you can preserve the structure of the data. So that's important. You do not want to, break the basic structure of your data. You want to still preserve the structure, special structure of your data. So that's an important consideration. All right. Transport. Because we need to do communication between client and server. Okay? So when you do communication, you need to send the data. Sometimes the data is pretty complicated. And when you send the data, you want to preserve the structure of the data. The structure. So you may ask me, what is the structure of the data? Right? Yeah. Here, let me just give a simple example. Okay. For example, one person we want to send information on one person. So when we send this information on one person, we want to include first name, last name, telephone number, address, zip code, age, so you can list, many pieces of information there. But you want to organize in a nice way. So at the receiver side, after you receive that whole thing, so you can retrieve piece by piece easily. Right? So the structure should be preserved when you transport data between the client and the server. So that's the reason we need a special format to represent our data. So that's the purpose. All right. So XML was designed to be both human and machine readable. Human readable. Yeah. I just mentioned we use a text editor, so you can clearly see the information there. You can understand, and you can modify it if you want. Human readable. But another important thing is machine readable. So what do you mean machine readable? Right? That means that means the machine can process. The machine knows how to process your data. So machine readable. But how does machine know how to process? Someone writes the program, right? Programmers understand how to process. So the programmers, they write the programs to process the data. So the machine just run the programs to process it. So that means the machine readable. Okay? So that's, the machine can process. Okay? Machine just run programs to process the data. Yeah. All right? Yeah. XML is a markup language much like HTML, right? So a lot of common properties. And during our discussion in this part, we will compare XML, HTML in many different aspects. A lot of similarities, but a lot of differences also. We will see that soon. XML was designed to be self-descriptive. Self-descriptive. Why is that self-descriptive? First, we know a lot of similarity from the structure, similar to the way we are using HTML. Descriptive. So what is descriptive? It has many tags, attributes, tags. So what's the meaning? Tags, attributes. So we use the words, names, to pretty much describe how do we use the data. So that means descriptive. For example, I still use the previous example, person. The person, inside the person, we create an element called a first name element. Second, last name element. Okay? Yeah. So that's descriptive, right? When you see first name element, you know the meaning, right? Yeah. You see the address element, you know the meaning, right? So that's the descriptive, self-descriptive way that it uses. All right. XML is a software and hardware independent tool for storing and transporting data. Software hardware independent. How do you understand that? Okay. Hardware, so that's independent, so it does not rely on hardware. I have Windows machine, Mac machine, Linux, tablet, cell phone. It does not rely on any of the device. So that's easy to understand. Right now, web pages, HTML is hardware independent, right? Yeah. So that's easy. Yeah. But software independent, then a little harder to understand. Software independent. It does not rely on any software. Okay? So XML, it's something like a generic way to store transporting data. Generic way. So many different software tools can be used to process XML data. It is not bound to any specific software. Okay? HTML. Yeah. So here, I use HTML as a closest example compared with XML. Yeah. HTML, we cannot say software independent, right? Because it relies on the web browser. You have to use web browsers to display HTML file. Okay? If you use other software, Microsoft Office, okay? For example, Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, for example, can you display XML? Not XML, HTML, right? Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. So HTML is bound to specific software tool, browser software tool, right? Yeah. But XML, it is open, okay? It is open. Yeah. I just provide the format in this way. Anyone, so if you want to adopt this format, you can process XML file. Okay? So I don't care, what software tool you are using. I just use this specific data format. So any software tool, if you want to support XML data, you can do it. So that's the basic idea behind it. All right, so let's move to the next one. Then some people say in this way, XML does not do anything. XML does not do anything. But this sentence, I want to understand in this way. If you look at XML from a special view, you can say that. From a special view, you can say that. Yeah. Because it's about some special view. If you try to understand, yeah, because when we say one sentence, we can look at from many different views, right? Many different views. We try to understand. So that's the human language. People can understand from all different angles, right? Yeah. Here, from one particular angle, people can understand like this. XML does not do anything. Okay? But it does something, right? It stores data and it is used to transport data. That's something, right? Something useful. It does something, right? How can you say it does not do anything, right? Yeah. So here, I feel the person who said this the first time, he or she meant this, things like this. It does not do any specific, or you know, specific application, things like that. Any specific application. So we cannot say what application requires or XML is used for what specific application. We cannot say that. Okay? XML, we cannot say XML is used for what kind of application. Nobody can say that. It can be used for any type of applications. Okay? So from that angle, so people say it does not do anything. Regarding software applications, it does not target any specific software application. But we cannot say that for HTML. HTML target, web browser. So you display content, document in web browsers. It has some goal there, like that, related to application. Web browser is an application, right? Software application. Application software. So it's not like HTML targeting web browser software application. XML does not target any software application. So that's the meaning. So I feel the author, the person who said this the first time means that. Okay? Yeah. Next. All right. Let's get into a little more into the XML. XML is just information wrapped in tags. This property, similar to that of the HTML. Tags, wrap information, descriptive, describe the usage, purpose of the data, information. The XML language has no predefined tags. This property is quite different from HTML. HTML, all the tags we use inside HTML, they are predefined, right? We cannot change anything, right? We have to use those predefined tags. We cannot create our own tags, right? If you create your own tags in your HTML file, what would happen? The browser cannot recognize your tags. The browser just ignores all your tags. Okay? So that's what we learned before HTML properties. Here, XML, it's different. It has no predefined tags. Why is that? Later, so when we get into more details, we will see that. We will know that's the reason. So that's the way the designers like to make it in this way. All right. Next. Why we say that XML is extensible. Extensible with respect to what? Okay? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So here, we look at the XML applications. So when you use XML applications, we know the versions will change frequently, right? Yeah. So new version comes out, replace the old version. Things like that. So here, when new version comes out, there is a old version supporting problem, right? Old version supporting problem. Can you? So when you someone has XML files used in the old version applications. When you have new versions, can you still use old XML files, backward compatibility, right? So here, actually, we're talking about the backward compatibility. We know it's important, backward compatibility. Otherwise, for the users, it is not very convenient. So here, this Extensible try to address that problem, backward compatibility problem. Okay? So the design goal of this technology try to make sure that backward compatibility is not an issue. So I will explain this part later. All right. Now, the way XML is constructed, older version of the application can still work. Yeah, so that's still talking about the backward. So older version, the tags you used, older version, basically you use a set of tags, right? Old tags can still be used in the new versions, new XML, new versions, new XML versions, new versions of XML applications still work. Yeah. So you can add new tags, but old tags can still be used. So that's the meaning. All right. So here, let me show you one example, special example of XML. Yeah. Here, I think we do not feel, very surprised first, yeah, because we use, tags way already in HTML. But the special thing here is, so you can see no predefined tags. Here we do not use predefined tags, right? So all these tags we used self-descriptive, right? Self-descriptive. Yeah. So you know the meaning immediately. What's the data used for? We can see that. We can guess easily, yeah. But we cannot say, so here, people try to do that. But it does not mean you can always understand how to use the data through the tags. But sometimes, if people use some special purpose tags, you don't know the meaning of that, right? Yeah. So self-descriptive, we can only say relative. Self-descriptive, relative, not absolute, not absolute, relative. In the real world, actually, everything is relative. Yeah. Almost everything. Yeah. I should not say everything. Almost everything is relative. Yeah. Still, very small, very little, something absolute. All right. Next, XML design goals. So I mentioned a little bit, yeah, but in this slide, we need to discuss a little more about XML design goals. Okay. First, it simplifies, the first goal simplifies data sharing. So the designers, when they create this technology, they want to do these things. Okay? Did they do a good job? Later, other people can make their, judgment. Yeah. But, when they design this technology, so they have these things in their mind. Yeah. Simplifies data sharing. Yeah. All right. So, what's the specific meaning here they want to do for this goal, right? So this is one of their goals. So they want to achieve this kind of thing. Exchanging data between incompatible systems. Incompatible systems. Okay? Different machines, Windows and a Mac. We can say incompatible, right? Yeah. And different systems, Yeah. One system, general system, software system, right? One software system, another different software system. They want to do communication, right? So between incompatible systems. Yeah. So, time-consuming task for web developers. So they want to create it this way. So if we use this way, so no matter what system you use, you can always do the communication. So that's something looks really nice. Yeah. But can they achieve this goal, or how well they achieve this goal? So later, when we learn more and more, so we can say something about it. Yeah. All right. It simplifies data transport. Data transport. Yeah, people want to simplify data transport. All right. But how and what's the specific meaning here? All right. So XML stores data in plain text format. So software, hardware independent. Storing, transporting, sharing data. Right. So when you transport data, so when you send data, in different locations, different places, different systems, you want to make it as easy as possible. Okay? You do not need to do any conversion, right? Yeah, because the conversion is very time consuming. Yeah. Each side, after receive the XML data, they can understand easily, and they can do the processing. That's something looks very interesting, very useful. Yeah. All right. It simplifies platform changes. Yeah. So you may change platform, one platform to another one. The platform can mean a lot of things, right? Yeah. The platform, the meaning of platform is very vague. Okay? Windows operating system, you can say platform. The technology, you can also say platform, right? Web technology, you can say platform. Java EE technology, that's a platform, okay? Microsoft.NET, so that's a platform, right? So a lot of things you can say platform. Yeah. Here, so when you switch to different platforms, you can still use the same XML format. That's the design goal. Okay? Yeah. I do not, in the designer's mind, they want to achieve this goal. It does not mean they can do a good job. So they may not do a good job. Right? They try to do this, but if they can do it or not, how well they can do it, that's another issue. Right? So that's why I talk about their design goals. They want to achieve this. But other people, so the users or the programmers, or other people who use this technology, we can make our, conclusion, or we have something to say about based on our experience. We can say something, okay? If they do a good job or not. Okay? So later we will do this later, okay? But not at this time. Okay? All right. Yeah, make easier to expand or upgrade to new yeah. So that's what they try to achieve. All right. Yeah. So you got a nice thing if they can achieve this. That's really nice. But things is not that simple. In real world applications, it is not that simple. Okay? Yeah. Another one, it simplifies data availability. Make data available, data availability. What's the meaning of that? With XML, data can be available to all kinds of reading machines, like people, computers, voice machines, news feeds, etc. So things here like this. So a lot of things you can support this format easily. So that's something I like. Like I try to interpret. So what's the exact meaning of this data availability? Right? Yeah. So the devices, machines, applications, people, human, if you can process XML data, that means the data is available to you, to your device, to your application. So so that's the meaning of that. Yeah. Easy to use. The cost to use this technology is relatively low. So that's the meaning they want to say, right? Yeah. The cost is not high. If the cost, nobody wants to pay the cost, right? So here it says the cost to use this technology is pretty low. Yeah. Okay? The cost, mainly it means the development cost. In order to make your application to support this data format, you need to spend development time, right? That cost. It's not a cost you need to pay some organization. It's not that. W3C, it's free. You don't need to pay cost to anyone, to pay money to anyone. Yeah. But the company, the vendor of the product, they need to pay the cost to develop their applications to support this technology. Yeah. All right. So that's the design goals. Yeah. The main reason I want to talk about these design goals to help you understand this technology better. Why people use this technology, right? So that background is useful. Yeah. All right. Next, difference between XML and HTML. So here, let me just give you some simple differences. First one, XML was designed to carry data, the purpose, carry, store, transport, right? Store, transport, carry data. Yeah. So that's the main purpose. With focus on what data is, the content of the data, the data itself, okay? Yeah. So that's the focus. XML was designed to display data with focus on how data looks. So one is for the content of the data. Yeah? One is for the display, the look, the format, the view. So you can see the difference. All right. XML tags are not predefined like HTML tags are. Yeah. Yeah. So we saw this before. Yeah. All right. All right. Next, how to use XML. All right. Here, just give us some simple idea how to use it. All right. XML is often used to separate data from presentation. So that's one important thing. Separate data from presentation. Okay? Yeah. We saw something like this before. CSS, right? Separates style from content, from the document, the structure, content. Yeah. So that's one. Here, XML separate data from presentation. How to present your data? So that's the application tools. XML, the data itself, it does not need to know how do you want to present your data. It does not need to know that. Okay? Yeah. It does not need to, try to address that. No. It just focuses on how to describe the data content. All right. XML does not carry any information about how to be displayed. So no layout information. Okay? Yeah. Just describe the data. Okay? No style information. All right. The same XML data can be used in many different presentation scenarios. Yeah? So here later I will compare this XML with another thing so we can understand. Because here, if I describe all these things, it looks like so great. This technology, so nice, right? At 10-something years ago, 1.0, starting from 1998. But after several years of that, at that time XML was really a hot topic. Okay? Several years after it was created. Many people felt it is a great technology. So useful, so important. Things change a lot. So right now, the comments quite different. I will talk about the comments. Yeah. So now, many people don't feel it's a great technology. Still useful, but a lot of complaints about XML technology. Yeah. All right, so we will talk about that later. Yeah. Example. Yeah. So a simple example, XML. So here you can see this XML file, we store some special type of data here. Bookstore, books. So we want to store the book information, for a bookstore. So we can do that. We can organize. So we organize the book information in a nice way. Yeah. Store, transport. Yeah. After we store, we can do store and transport. Yeah. All right. So then, all right. So we compare with XML another time, many times. It is a complement to HTML. In many HTML applications, XML is used to store, transport data. XML is used format, display the same data. Yeah. So here, from another, way to understand the difference between XML and HTML. All right. But here I want to compare it from another angle. XML versus database. Yeah. Because when we talk about so many great things, it's just look like database, right? So you store your data in a neutral way. Yeah. Here it looks like it's a generic neutral way. Many other different applications can use this format. The database has sort of things like this. Database, we can store data, right? Transport may not be, we can access data through network, right? Database. But here you can see from the usages, functionalities, from that angle, there are similarities, XML and the database. But there is a big difference. Okay? There is a big difference. So I want to point that out. Database supports query, data query. XML does not. How can you do query? No, you cannot. A query could be very complicated. Queries, very complicated. But XML, you know, do not think about it. Even, you know, do not try it. Too difficult. Too difficult. So that tells us something like this. If you need to do data queries, you have to use database. If you do not need to do data queries, you know, display information, modify display information, then you can use XML. All right, so I already spent a lot of time in this introduction. So I just finished this video. So we have 2 more videos for this topic.